Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you in another video. Alright, so the next game we're talking about in this series is the Philadelphia 76ers and the Toronto Raptors. They're going to be heading back to Toronto for Game 6. And if you follow me, you know that I picked the Toronto Raptors to win this series from the jump. I think that the matchups favor the Toronto Raptors, period. And I look at their team as being able to throw way too many different forwards at the Philadelphia 76ers that they should, in theory, not be able to defend. In the first game, the issue was they didn't have Scottie Barnes out there for the Toronto Raptors. Fred VanVleet was out there and was struggling mightily. And those two things taking place at once made for a very easy team for the Philadelphia 76ers to defeat. Sixers did not hardly turn the ball over in that game because of the lack of Scottie Barnes and that imposing defensive presence that ultimately makes them an imposing, big defensive team. And then the missed possessions and lost possessions that come from Fred VanVleet launching bad shots over and over again, them coming to nothing. Plus him being a smaller size guy who can defend, in fact is a fantastic defender, but ultimately isn't going to help you as much when you're dealing with a giant like Joel Embiid. Now, when you remove him from the lineup, he's doubtful this evening, even though I don't expect they'll be bringing him back tonight, and insert Precious Achiuwa into the lineup. Now you are a massive team. Now what you have is a dynamic where everybody is either 6'5" or greater, and most of those 6'5" players just happen to be really good at defense on this team. So Scottie Barnes being a defensive dynamo and a glue guy in terms of making people better, passing the rock, plus he's a threat to score. Imposing in just about every way, going to make whoever's guarding him work, and who's going to make whoever he has to guard feel very uncomfortable at all times. Punishing defender. I don't see enough athleticism on the Philadelphia 76ers team to keep up with a team that has Scottie Barnes hounding whoever the best player on it is. In this case, he's going to be hounding whoever the Philadelphia 76ers have that's hot. Obviously, they're going to need him to help on Embiid. Maybe he'll have Embiid as his assignment, but I doubt that. They'll probably put someone bigger on him. But the thing is that now you got to deal with Scottie, which means you got OG Anunoby as a helper. You got Gary Trent Jr. as a helper. You got Pascal Siakam as a helper. These are gifted defenders. And now those guys being so studied defensively now makes Precious Achiuwa a better defender. Even though he's not known for defense, in that situation, all he has to be is competent. Help on the weak side. Now he's blocking shots. Now he's getting extra boards. Normally, Joel Embiid should, in theory, be able to overcome all of that, because Joel Embiid is so big and so talented that he's just going to put 40 points on whoever's out there. 40 points, 15, 18 boards, 5 blocks. He's going to dominate. Problem is, Joel Embiid has a hand injury that we've talked a lot about that's keeping him from ever really being 100% going forward for the rest of these playoffs. He's going to need surgery on it, and he's going to play through it until his season ends. So that's going to make him somebody who's constantly going to be challenged with overcoming that injury, and it's not something you can just think your way through. It affects turnovers, it affects your dribbling, and obviously affects your shooting. So for me, I pencil him in now at this point for only 25 points a game. In order for the Philadelphia 76ers to win this series, they're going to need to put up more points. And with him now dropping off in points, it's going to be on somebody else to have to make that up. Tyrese Maxey has fallen off in this series. I think the Toronto Raptors have now effectively neutralized him to some degree. James Harden has been a non-factor because he's naturally inefficient to begin with at this point. And they're getting nothing out of their bench because coach is calling on guys that are not producing, and leaving other guys on the team to not ever get hot. So even if he does call on them, they haven't been seen in 6 games. I think the Philadelphia 76ers are in a situation where even if they play hard, because of all that we've talked about, if the Toronto Raptors also too play hard, the Toronto Raptors should win the game. The only problem with this is the Toronto Raptors have their back against the wall because of the fact that they lost so many games to injury early in the season, with obviously so many players being out, as we've discussed. But all of those players are back. So the dynamic that I thought we would see at the beginning of the season, the series, is now the dynamic that's taking place to end the series. All the Toronto Raptors have to do is effectively beat a team that they're favored to beat twice and win the series. And that's exactly what I expect to happen. Normally, I would say, well, Joel Embiid is just going to turn into the great player that he is and overcome and be amazing. I don't think you can do that with his finger. Now, if he makes me look like a fool and does it, I think they'll win. If you see 42 points from Joel Embiid tonight, Philadelphia 76ers will win. But if he doesn't give them that type of performance, and they don't get it from Maxey, or they don't get it from Harden, or they don't get it from Tobias, they're going to need a performance like that from someone. So James Harden is a talented individual. We know that. He's done amazing things in this league. He's also been somebody who's historically disappeared when it mattered most. It matters a lot right now. I don't expect him to show up. Tyrese Maxey is a player, like I said. He's excellent. He's very young, but he's already proven himself in these series to be somebody who can effectively score against a Scotty Barnes-less Toronto Raptors team. He's going to have to prove that he can score against a Scotty Barnes-led Toronto Raptors team. Period. Scotty's down there. You're going to have to put up big points. If you give them less than 30, you're going to lose. And Tobias Harris, he's been the mainstay of this series, shooting well and defending well. One of the reasons why they were so excellent to start the series is because of how well he was playing. He got neutralized in the last game, went 6 for 16. If he's not able to pick it back up, this series is going to go back to a 7. So all of this is pointing toward this series going back to a 7, because at the end of the day, you don't have enough athleticism, Philly, to deal with all of those defensive guard forwards who actually shoot the ball. Each and every one of them shoot the ball. That's another thing that makes them extremely dangerous. Like, it's not enough to have them hounding you and doubling you with their big bodies. But now they're able to slash, run into the paint, do all these different things, and they all can spread the floor, being competent from behind the arc, each and every one of them. At worst, competent. In Gary Trent's case, he's like fantastic at it. So, and he hasn't had a Gary Trent game in this series because he started the series off hurt. So I expect him to go for 30 tonight, because that's who he's been all season long, and the injuries have just knocked him off. But he's a 30-point scorer from behind the arc. It's time for him to get hot. So, like, I don't think this works out for Philly. You're going into a hostile environment. We know how Toronto is. That building's going to carry them. Drake's going to be sitting over there. I mean, even if this is a close game, I truly believe Toronto should win it. Toronto has their back against the wall. Toronto has a more talented team. Toronto has the home court tonight. Toronto Raptors need to come through. If they drop the ball tonight, we won't stop talking about it. Because not too many teams have the opportunity that they have in front of them to overcome a 0-3 deficit. It's never been done before. And you're favored to do it against somebody who's known for giving up 3-1 leads in Doc Rivers. He does this every year. If you can't overcome what's in front of you when you're favored to do so, then you shouldn't be here. So I'm not even looking at the Philadelphia 76ers saying you need to win Game 6 because you got to close this team out. Hell no. They're not the better team. Toronto Raptors need to take care of business against this team that they should very easily beat because they're hobbled. They put all their faith into a superstar who's not showing up. And Tyrese Maxey is being taken care of by your defense. It's working. Keep doing what you've been doing. Shoot the ball well. Don't fall in love with anything that isn't working. And beat them with your depth. Because they don't have any. Their coach is not going to make the adjustment. He's proven that. That's why he always gives up 3-1 leads. He's going to play the same guys. You're going to see Paul Reed tonight. You're going to see Danny Green tonight. You're going to see, He's going to play the same guys. And they're going to give him the same result so long as the Toronto Raptors continue doing what they're doing. Nick Nurse, don't get cute. Keep doing the same stuff. Pascal Siakam, don't disappear. Don't disappear. And Nick Nurse, if he does disappear, sit him down. We can't have one of those nights from Pascal Siakam. I know how he can be. He's iffy. Last game he played great. The game before that he did nothing. This ain't the night to play around. Your season's on the line. You have a chance to make history against somebody who's been talking a lot of crap. And somebody who psychologically should be terrified of you anyway. Remember, squat, bounce, tears. Yeah, that happened against Toronto in that building. Same building he has to go into tonight with a messed up finger. All you got to do is hound him the way you have been. He can't guard your guys. It's too slow. And Doc ain't going to make the adjustment. So, as far as I'm concerned, keep attacking Joel, get him in foul trouble, swipe at the hand, and they're going home. James Harden needs to prove himself to be somebody who's going to show up in situations like this, and he never has. And he slowed down. So, prove me wrong, James. Go out there and do the things that you need. Tell me that you're capable of being who it is that you've never shown us you can be. Someone who can close out a team in a situation like this. And it starts on the defensive end. He's going to have to overachieve on the defensive end. He did that to start the series. He was blocking shots, getting steals. The problem that the Philadelphia 76ers have is that they cannot guard those long and big forwards that the Toronto Raptors have. They're going to have to find a way to do that. And it starts with guys who don't play defense playing defense. It's that simple. They're going to have to find something defensively. They're going to have to shoot the ball well. You know, they haven't found nothing from behind the arc since the first game. They've been turning the ball over. Remember I told you guys that wasn't going to sustain? If you watch my first game, reaction, I told you guys they didn't turn the ball over basically till the fourth quarter. That wasn't going to sustain. There was no way Scotty Barnes was about to come back and Philadelphia was going to just be able to hold on to the ball all comfy. That's not happening. Gary Trent's one of the best steals players in the game. He was out for that game. He barely even played in that start. That wasn't going to happen. Now you're bringing back not only one, but two hyper defensive forwards who shoot the ball. Like, for those who are picking Philly, I hear people saying Philly's a better team. They literally are not. They're literally not. The only reason why someone would define that to be the case is because they look at Joel Embiid and they have the idea in their head that because Joel Embiid is the best player on the floor, that the Toronto Raptors happen to be the lesser team because of that. That's a basketball philosophy that I don't share. I just don't. I know you can overwhelm superstars if you have enough depth. I know that because they only get 6 fouls. So if you have enough people coming at them one way or another, flopping off them one way or another, they got to sit their butts down. So that in and of itself that's not real. If you have more weapons, you will beat that other team so long as you know what you're doing with those weapons. And Toronto does. They've won with this team. Half of those dudes are NBA champions, and one of them is Rookie of the Year. So if they don't win this game tonight and they do get ousted, it's going to be because somebody did something special. Joel Embiid had to do something special with that hand, flu game type of energy. James Harden came out of the shadows, turned into old James Harden from Houston. Tyrese Maxey went off and played an MVP caliber game like he did in game 1. Something like that needs to happen for Philly. Maybe a combination of two people doing that same thing. Other than that, the momentum, the talent, the repeated size of Toronto should overwhelm Philadelphia and send this thing into a game 7. I think it'll be a tough game, but the matchups overwhelmingly favor them. It's too much athleticism. Simple as that. So, don't disappear Pascal Siakam. Period. Toronto should win. That's what I got, man. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.